Support comes from Warehouse 9, a new place to eat and drink in San Pedro, California. It's Shifted Perspective on Sociology of Cars Podcast. I'm your host, Shift, a professional test driver and Porsche Driving Instructor. My goal is to guide you on your journey as an enthusiast, making it as easy as possible. My ethos: don't ignite the problem, fuel the solution. For this week's topic, do crashes make you a better driver? My first car crash happened due to a lack of driver skill. I was 17 and haven't even had my license for a year. I was driving down a local mountain road following a couple of my high school friends in my 1988 Toyota Supra. I oversped into a turn and the rear stepped out, initiating a drift. I counter-steered in the direction I wanted to go in. However, I panicked and pressed the brake pedal. That induced more rotation that led me straight into a dirt hill. I remember feeling scared, but mostly disappointed in myself. As humans, we tend to be our biggest critic. It was a mild impact, but still a newbie mistake nonetheless. The lesson I learned that day was that braking during a slide mid-corner only exaggerates the rotation, especially going downhill. Instead, I should have allowed the car to slow down naturally without any pedal inputs until the rear tires gripped up and the car straightened itself out. Afterwards, I was a little nervous to go back out and drive those roads again. Little did I know that, being a die-hard driving enthusiast, my adventures were just beginning. My second crash is a result of not knowing my own limits as a driver. I was in my third car, a 1989 Nissan 240SX Coupe, when chasing another S13 240SX at a different local mountain road. I was unfamiliar with the road itself and the conditions. Prior to that drive, I installed some new suspension components and threw on some low-grip, no-season tires. At that time, I had a toge mindset, which can be dangerous in itself, and we certainly will tap into that in the future. I wanted to keep up with the lead car so badly that I blindly ignored the red flags. I remember entering a wide sweeping left-hand turn going downhill. In the middle of that turn, there was a patch of loose gravel from a rock slide. In that moment, I realized this was too late. I had already felt the rear tire lose traction and spun me around 180 degrees back towards a giant boulder. I was fortunate enough to have worn a racing harness that kept me tight in my seat, while the impact of my driver door pushed in half a foot. With the older 90s stock seatbelts, that incident probably would have injured me. I was also fortunate that the boulder stopped me in my tracks. If that happened just 1 second later, I would have flown off the cliff into at least 1,000-foot drop down the canyon. I walked away without a scratch. However, both my S13 and my ego were crushed. This was a hard lesson for me to swallow, understanding that my recklessness could have brought harm to someone else and myself. I ran out of talent, and it cost me a car. I learned that I never should have chased a car down an unfamiliar road with an unfamiliar setup, ignoring my surroundings. I took a little break from mountain roads after that incident. My third crash happened in the rain. It was a combination of carelessness and the lack of understanding of weather conditions. I was driving a base model Chevy C6 Corvette with a 6-speed manual. I knew that Corvettes had significantly more power than what I was used to, but still, I didn't grasp how much car it really was. Out of all the times I could have driven that one, I thought it was a good opportunity to attempt drifting in the rain. I took it to the city streets at nighttime in a commercial area with no pedestrians nor a car in sight. I was surprisingly doing okay up to that moment I decided to violently kick the clutch while going down a stretch of straight road. It definitely overwhelmed the rear tires in that low grip setting. Once I passed a number that wasn't the posted speed limit, the rear swung the car out and I spun a 90-degree angle or more towards a curb. After jumping that curb, a tree sliced into the fiberglass body right behind my driver's seat, and I smashed in the front end to the wall. Somehow again, I walked away without a scratch. However, just like that vet, my spirits were crushed. This was not my car, by the way. Another big pill to swallow was that I disrespected a high-powered machine while being obnoxious about it in poor weather conditions. It took me some time to revisit drifting, especially in the rain. I'm so thankful that I didn't grow up in today's social media. There's a culture associated with car crashes that seems to not let any incident go unnoticed. The amount of shaming that occurs on crashes and driver mistakes is absurd. There's no hiding from it. There's no supportive words of advice or encouragement to help those people improve. It's discouraging the people involved to publicly share their story without the toxic response from people that have no context of their story. There's a misconception that all crashes occur due to lack of driver skill. Every accident is nuanced and demands critical thinking way beyond simply demonizing the drivers. There could be mechanical failures, ever-changing weather conditions, foreign objects, stopped cars, or toge deer, and so on. If you watch any form of racing, you know that professional drivers crash from time to time. That's how they learn. When you're pushing a car, you are dancing on the limit. As a pro, we assume that risk and understand when the margin of error narrows. Operating at that level requires a lot of stamina and endurance of the body and the mind. Everybody will crash at some point, just like how every athlete has attained an injury at some point. While coaching at Porsche, there are countless times that I interject to avoid a crash from the passenger seat while the customer is driving. It's just a normal occurrence, but it doesn't mean that the customer is always a bad driver. The average driver runs out of focus and stamina, which is just normal. Some of it is understanding HPDE driving for the very first time. Some customers brake too late. Some hit the gas too early, or lift off the pedals aggressively mid-turn, and many factors they're just still figuring out for the first time themselves. We all started somewhere, and we all received guidance from someone else that understood more than we did from their own experiences. As enthusiasts, we should contribute to the cause of offering a solution to allow a safe space for drivers to learn. We should redirect that attention from crashes itself and channel it elsewhere constructively. Don't just shame people's mistakes online, but reach out to help. Growing together as a community is essential for all of us to get better. It's less about the crash itself, but more so about where it happens. Taking it off public roads and over to a closed course is preferred. So maybe there should be more event holders focusing on educating new drivers. Track events don't mean anything if new drivers aren't learning from professionals. Shifted Perspective is produced by Sociology of Everything, supported by Warehouse 9. I'm your host, Shift. Please feel free to reach out to me on social media found in the description, or email me at shift@sociologyofeverything.com. Don't ignite the problem, fuel the solution. Thank you so much for listening, and see you next week.